The following is a presentation of the Force Center podcast feed.
As Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there, and welcome to Force Center Presents Databank Dive. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and this is our show where we have lots of fun looking at the wild, the weird, the wondrous side of Star Wars, the tension every week. Will we add another W? So far, we're good with wild, weird, and wondrous, but you never know. What we do in this show, like it says in the title, with Dive. We dive into a specific character, a planet, a weapon, a ship, and just talk about it, what it means, the wild, weird, or wondrous side of it, and celebrate it. We did a whole season of this on the great science fiction app, The Companion. We did 10 episodes there, so if you want to check them out, you can check out The Companion. We love doing it so much, so now it is here, wild and out in the public. Oh, that came out weird. But you know what I mean, right, Ken?
Yes, wild and out, like great MTV improv show, right? Now you got me thinking of other W's. I'm like, whimsical, though that's kind of wondrous. Yeah. We'll figure it out. But right
Winsome? Yeah.
Winsome, there you go. Weird, wild. Today's, it's all of it. In truth, it's always all of it. This one might start a little bit more on the weird, but today we are going to it's Andor season. We got to take advantage of Andor season because there's some wonderful things to discuss on the Databank there on the StarWars.com page. We are going right towards perhaps the weirdest thing in Andor. It is the Pamular brothers, Dewi and Freedi. Joseph, this is going to be a biggie time podcast.
It is so great. Every second of that scene I loved. We're going to talk about why, but I always kind of try to prepare visually for myself for these episodes, and I have a screen capture that I took of their episode of Andor. I say it's their episode like they were the stars. They were the stars for me of that episode. There's a moment with the captions where I believe it is coming from Freedi, but the caption says affirming grunt. And it is a picture of the two of them. They look like they're doing Fisher Person's modeling for Fisher Person Space GQ. And it says affirming grunt. And I'm just so happy looking at it.
It's so good. So fun. Dewi and Freedi created quite a stir, which is why we're happy to celebrate them. They are on the StarWars.com databank. So let's go to the databank to see what the databank has to say about Dewi and Freedi Pamular, or Pamular, or Pamular. You could say it how you want. Just say Dewi and Freedi. Here's Dewi, the chattier of the two Pamular brothers. Dewi spends much of his time in the Narkina quarry pools, hunting for edible fish, we call them squigglies, in the murky waters. Dewi has no love for the Empire, Scab the Empire, that has poisoned his home, and he retains compassion for others who have been similarly scarred by the Imperial machine. That is a powerful, powerful description. Freedi is the other person in this equation here, and Freedi has heavy implements capping his beefy limbs. Give Freedi Pamular the appearance of a formidable fighter, but his blades are primarily used for chopping up fish pulled from the waters of Narkina. With his brother Dewi, the Pamular brothers spend their days on fishing expeditions. Fish exist in Star Wars. The word squiggly is the best thing ever. All right. We'll start there, but then we're going to go to Wookieepedia. I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at you here, Joseph. I apologize. There's a lot of bits from Wookieepedia. Dewi is a Caredian.
Caredian? Yeah, with two E's.
Well, there's a E missing from this. Caredian. Dewi was the chattier of the two brothers, as aforementioned, but they were not blood relatives. Dewi's design was a reuse of the design for the character Psykid Ock from the 2016 film Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Dewi was portrayed by Dr. Quad Pop performer Matthew Lyons and voiced by Mike Quinn, a.k.a. Nine Numb. Wow. Freedi was portrayed by puppeteer Liam Cook, who was Ochi of Bastoon, and voiced by droid and creature performer Damien Farrell. A lot of information. Just where's your mind right now on all this?
I love that you pulled out that they were performed by veterans of the Star Wars world. That's so great to know. that Mike Quinn, Nine Numb, was in there making the hey sounds. So that's really great for me. I think the thing that I love the most is their databank entries have some flair. Edible fish. I like making that specific. Hunting for edible fish. Edible as a word, has a meaning, but edibles also makes me wonder. The heavy implements captain beefy limbs. Look, it's true, but it's a heck of a thing to say. The number one thing that I'm enchanted by, though, is the clarification that they were not blood relatives. Even though they have the same last name and they do look quite similar, it's one of the things I was thinking about when we're watching. Is like, oh, are they? Hey, there's some similarities and there are some major facial differences.
And look, if you go to our review, our discussion of this episode of Andor, episode 11, chapter 11, I think I had not had all this information in front of me. I thought they were partners. I thought they were married. I assumed they were a fishing couple. And that could have very well been the fact that they're not blood relatives, but they call themselves brothers. I love that just as much. Both could have worked for me, but that's exciting to find out.
Yeah, this is yet another beautiful Star Wars story of found family. I think that's the way I'm taking it.
It truly is. But here's the big thing as we dive into this conversation about Dewi and Freedi. Joseph, this is an easy and hard task. How do we describe Dewi and Freedi? What do they look like?
My honest knee-jerk reaction when I thought about this question is they look like damp animatronic pirates. They are definitely alien, but their whole vibe is very piratey, kind of cyberpunk pirates is their together vibe to me. But then looking at Dewi, his alien appearance, the design of this alien, and for some reason I just kept thinking of Laffy Taffy. Like he has some sort of like maybe almond flavor Laffy Taffy that's been pulled into this shape and then stayed that way.
That's amazing. It's just I'll never go into 7-Eleven and look at the candy the same way again.
And then I think it's the fact that Freedi's a puppet, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a puppet face, right? There's something about Freedi that really that face looks like an unused zombie model from Resident Evil, like a video game where you like, hey, that's one of their stock background zombies, and I've been attacked by Freedi 87 times in this 1 hour of play.
Yeah, I've got Disney Plus up, and I'm just freeze frame and looking through too, and the designs are just spectacular. Oh, that's the shot I need. I think it's the affirming grunt shot you're talking about here. Here's where I go to immediately. The bulk, the size, the designs. We said this on the discussion episode. I'll say that it's very reminiscent of some of my favorite things in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or some kind of fantasy stuff like that. Truly monstrous. Freedi, I tell you what, the Freedi's more scary. Is it a human? Is it just a bulky human with like a bad hairdo, like little Balon Greyjoy hair from Game of Thrones? And the belt is like metallic. It's digging into his gut. And then the augmentation with the arms, the beefy arms, the beefy limbs with the sword. On the other side, I do this frog-like face, the eye. There's a little dark crystal element there, so it takes all these wonderful things. It's truly imaginative design. But here's what I love: the thing I go to first is they both have really sensible, like shawls or Afghan wigs over them. Like it's kind of they look comfortable and warm.
They did look like they raided Grandma's couch for their outerwear for sure. And I love that Freedi has a shawl but no shirt, and then you look at Dewi and like Dewi doesn't. Oh no, that is a shirt.
It just doesn't all fit together. No, and they just stand out, and I guess that's the next place I want to go to. Without a doubt, they became immediate fan favorites, and what do we enjoy about their appearance in Andor, Joseph? They made waves.
Yeah, there's so much. I think so much has been said about Andor being grounded and realistic, and it certainly absolutely is emotionally, and then just sort of aesthetically. There's a ton of great Star Wars stuff. There's lots of aliens in the background. Hey, Dr. Quadpaw, even that name is beautifully over the top. So there is these flashes of the more weird and fantastic in Star Wars. Dewey and Freedy were such a huge jolt of that aesthetic. So it makes you stand up and notice them. But then the actual scene, I think, was really, really effective because it's an emotional roller coaster. You're in this place of fear because everything has been so brutal for Andor and Melshi. And we start this, episode with just their horrific, bloody feet, right? And their desperation to survive. And when Melshi's like, I think I can make it. It feels like the day I got luck on my side, or whatever it is he says. You feel like he's going to be shot through the head 7 times. You're just in this place of fear. So then these two weirdies come wandering in, and there's relief, there's comedy, there's terror, and then the whole scene ends on fist pumping, emotional victory. Raise your hands and scream, F the Empire. They F our squigglies, we're going to F them back. Like, it ends on this triumphant moment after being just, whiplashed through comedy and terror to like fist pumping victory.
It's just a great description of what's going on. Scob the Empire, indeed. And it stands out. Yes, Andor does all these things we've been discussing, and other shows and fans have been discussing, the grounded reality of it all, which I think was needed. I think you need that to show the real world issues and say, hey, Star Wars does have a lot to say. It's always had a lot to say. But then this comes along, and it's just as powerful because of the other things we celebrate Star Wars. You and I just had the discussion about the magical fantasy science fiction side. And you have these are truly characters, but beings in this galaxy affected by the Empire, and they don't look like the Empire, and the Empire has probably reminded them and others like them time and time again. So for them to kind of have that, there is that tension. And yes, we know these two characters. We know Cassian and Melshi survived this. I totally get that, but you don't know what's going to happen. They could be, one's got a knife on his beefy limb. You don't know what's going on. But there's such a warmth to them from the moment they first react. When they look up at them running, you get these two fools running. You just have Dewey just like, it's just, it's a gear shift in the most wonderful way. And it becomes important. It becomes valuable to hear this kind of, we're all having fun quoting them, the squigglies and the biggie dinner and all that kind of stuff. But beyond that is it's culture's affected by the Empire. And it's powerful because of that. And so I think it was very well used. It was a great use of the wondrous and wild and weird in this show that is already correctly has a reputation of being grounded.
Yeah, not today, yeah.
Today, oh man! So because the Cerulean appears in Rogue One, I want to go here as part of Saw's Partisans. I know we have a specific character name. I stumbled through it earlier. I'll try again. Sysid Ock?
I think it really is just any choice you want to make with that one at this point.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to have some fun with this here. Do we think Dewey joins the Partisans? If so, what is your headcanon on that? Does Freedy join as well? What happens to Dewey and Freedy when all hell starts to break loose and the rebellion strikes back or makes their move? What happens to these two characters?
Well, I hope these brothers are not torn asunder. That would be terrible. I could see a headcanon where since they've been having fun with some of the stuff that's established for Rogue One, like, we always told people that he was from Fest, which is what the visual dictionary said about Cassian. Right. So I could see them being tricksy trick, as they might say, and revealing that Syed Ock is actually a cover name for Dewi and Pamular. They could do that, but here's what my actual headcanon is. I think that's a different character, a different Credian, and I think what happens to Dewey and Freedy is they start their own rebel splinter group. There's that great scene where Luthen and Saw kind of rattle off all of the different people out there, the Separatists and the Alliance and blah, 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 blah. I think Dewey and Freedy start a rebel cell called the Fishers. And I think they take their knowledge of fishing and they apply that to the galaxy. And I think they go around to different transport locations, and I think they set bait and they capture Imperial cargo and Imperials themselves like they were capturing squigglies. And so, I think I think they wait until a lonely Imperial transport, very poorly guarded, comes by. I think they capture it, they reel it in, and I think it's a nightmare for those Imperials. I think they say, lights out time, squiggly hey, and then some of those appliances on those beefy limbs come out, and it is just gutting season.
It's gut. No, that's the tagline of the show you're pitching. It's gutting season. I love that you're kind of saying, much like Jesus said to the apostles, "You'll become fishers of men." They're fishers of imps. They're going to go out and get the Imperials, and I love that. I have an idea of like them showing up at a Saw base, following the Cavern Angels in and landing, and then just offering up, we be rebels, 2C2, take hold of us, and Saw being excited to have, what do you do with that blade on your arm? Well, he guts fish, but we can use it for something else here.
We got wet nets.
Wet nets. Those wet nets are something special. Perhaps more on that here in a second, but more headcanon talk. They have a Tug B-13 quad jumper. This is the ship that they gift to Cassian, or Keith Gergo, if you'd like to say, and Melshi. So this was fantastic because it's a direct reference to The Force Awakens. It's a ship, the quad jumper they were running to. So to have it back, I don't know. I just really love seeing that there. But I'm gonna have some fun with that. That ship gets off planet. Melshi and Andor take it. Do you want to see, or would you like the idea of that ship, the quad jumper, is the one that ends up on Jakku? And what's your story for that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't normally need, if we see one thing in Star Wars, the next time it is the same thing. I think sometimes that's something that fans can get irritated by when the galaxy feels too small. But in this case, I want it to be the same quad jumper, the exact same one, because I want, after the fall of the Empire, at some point, Dewey is, probably starting a fishing empire. Hopefully, Freedy made it through the rebellion as well. And I want to see the sail conversation between Dewey and Unkar. They're both large potato-shaped colored people with weird, gruff voices. And I want to see this, them haggling over the price so bad.
How many portions? I want that quad jumper to be mine. Oh, this is great. It's we're doing Databank Dive. But Dewey versus Unkar is a Databank brawl waiting to happen. With return to that at some point. This is great, and just having. I'm like you. I don't necessarily need it to be the same one, but there is kind of, I don't know, like tracing a dollar bill around the world. You can go to websites and do that, but just seeing this quad jumper having a story of being an overlooked ship in many people's lives, but it does the job until it meets its untimely end on Jakku. It's a sad story, I guess, is what I'm pitching here. One of the other weird things about this little entry here is Freedy's species is currently classified as alien in a couple spots. So what would we name Freedy's species? What do you imagine it might be? Or is generic alien enough for you?
I do like Alien. I think what I like about it is like he looks like he maybe has a similar body anatomy to Dewey. We can't tell because his arms, his beefy limbs, have been replaced with mechanical tools.
Yeah,
his face is pretty human.
Pretty human.
It's pretty human. But there's plenty of that, right? There's humanoid, right? The Gruda, right? Okay, fine. Maybe he's not middle-aged and balding. Maybe this species does not grow hair on the top of their head. They're humanoid. But to answer your question, I think his species, their name is Kerblots. That's what the aliens are called. Kerblots.
Kerblots. I was going to base off the beefy lead and call them like beefathons or something like that. Beef Rudians or something.
Beef Rubians?
but Kerblots. What'd you say, Kerblots?
Kerblots.
I accept that one there. Maybe one will show up in season 2. We'll get an answer. But it's funny to think that we got Yoda and Freedy and Grogu, I guess, and Yaddle as the big mysteries in Star Wars.
We can never know what those species are.
What is the weirdest aspect, look, or moment from the Palomar brothers that you just absolutely enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I could quote so many individual quotes. The Biggie dinner is probably my favorite turn of phrase because it's the one that does just work itself into day-to-day life real easy. The squigglies, the swearing, all of it is great. I think I'm going to go to this big picture thing of their vibe, of what I like about their vibe, is they look like the alien version of giant, strong, terrifying, violent pirates. But their manner of speech is the way one would talk if you were trying to entertain a baby.
Yes.
The toosy too.
Yes.
Oh, this baby's got toesy woes. Like, I think it's the contrast between the way Dewey is speaking and how terrifying Dewey is.
Yeah. 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 And even up to the point where they release him, you don't quite know how it's going to go. Again,
No.
we know somewhat of the end with these characters, Melshi and Andor. We get that. Again, it's a big lesson of Star Wars. Just because you know the end, the journey is still enriching and rewarding. You don't know. And that moment when the blade comes out and then it's like, he's going to open up the nets. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary. It's legit scary. But they talk that way and then nothing but grunts from old Freedy.
Yeah. I love the calm aspect of him. It's in a show that is quietly intense and somber at times. They're just as the pacing on them is the same as the show, but with a different effect for me. So I love just the and the affirming grunts and the converse. The Biggie dinners like pastime is truly just, it says so much. I imagine them sitting around having wonderful squiggly dinners. So I just love everything about that and those nets. And I know you love those nets too. I was watching that scene again today. It's not just that it's this gooey kind of weird Shelob-like net they're caught in, but the fact that they could just retract it so easily. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Not only is it a gross, wet net that seemed, is that something they have to do in the morning to get up and coat the net with the blubber? It's so gross and does not obey the law of physics, and I love it.
No, I love it too. We've discussed a lot of the magic, but what is some specific magic of the Pamular brothers, Dewi and Freedi, and how does it all add up to the magic and legend of Star Wars?
Yeah, I think for me, it's big picture is kind of a theme over the last week or so of Force Center, but it's such a prime example of it that we're having so much fun talking about them because they're weird and they're funny and we don't know their whole story, so we get to imagine. But what is going on with them? They are the first, in some ways, bright spot that Cassian has encountered. He's encountering mercy, help, kindness, brothers in arms, brothers in knife arms. The contrast between the profound and the absurd, that they're really, really bonkers, fun aliens. But if you look past that and what they are, what they're saying, what they mean, they are more creatures of their world in sync with their environment. In that environment, the entire natural order of the galaxy has been violated by the Empire. And these characters have the wisdom to see it, to believe it, and say absolutely no more. The power of them contrasted with the fun of them is the magic to me.
Absolutely. I think it's very telling that these are the first two beings in the galaxy that Melshi and Andor, two key members of the forthcoming official rebellion, that they meet, right? That they meet these and looks can deceive you, and you could maybe, I think they do. Melshi's kind of like, they're not going to catch up to us. He's overlooking them. So there's valuable lessons there, but the mercy you're talking about, that the Empire's reach affects everyone and that they get it. These two characters get it. They don't need a big speech. They'd look at Noah Jabal and be like, this guy doesn't, 2C2 doesn't get it, which I know is a number system. They get it. They get it. And this is why in my head, maybe they do end up joining the fight in some way down the line, but they are important to the rebellion, important to the story. And I could not have imagined this beat even after Andor started, but before Andor started, I should say, I couldn't imagine this showing up. It's such a powerful, wonderful, magical moment that adds to the saga and the story of the rebellion.
Yeah. Imagine, just being described this scene of like, okay, they're going to encounter these aliens, and in the spirit of what these aliens are going to say is, we see the Empire murders everything. Today, they won't murder you. And then being shown what they're going to look like.
It's these fascinating. Well, we're not done yet talking about Dewey and Freedy, but we're going to take a quick break here and come back and discuss a little bit more and give our final rating for these characters. So stick around here in Force Center and more Databank Dive. Welcome back to Databank Dive. I'm Ken Napzok, hanging out with Joseph Scrimshaw on the Force Center podcast feed here. It's our show, Databank Dive, where we take a look at some specific characters and talk about how weird they are, maybe how wondrous, and celebrate everything about them. Dewey and Freedy are these characters we're discussing today. Freedy appears, Joseph, to have chosen to augment his body with heavy implements on his beefy limbs. We keep mentioning. If Freedy was a guest at your holiday party, what implement would you want him to have?
Ooh, I would want him to be outfitted with a corkscrew arm for wine.
Yes, got it.
I feel like for opening champagne bottles, I just got a vibe that Freedy'd do that with his teeth, so no limb needed there. But definitely corkscrew arm for wine. And then I would like him to have on one of his beefy limbs an array of different kinds of cheese knives. Because I love cheese plates, but you're kind of presented with them and like, here's an incredibly hard, like, adamantium level hard cheese. And here's a cheese that will melt if you look at it. But here's one knife to cope with both of them. No, you need multiple cheese knives. And I think Freedy could have your back.
Yeah, Freedy would have you back for that. I think you absolutely corkscrew is key. That knife works for me as well. But one of the things I think I would need is like an iPhone adapter on there where he's playing music. Maybe can charge phones, just going around entertaining all the guests. When I host parties, I like to do the plate spinning thing where I want to just check in with people, make sure they're okay. So I could send Freedy around just playing songs they like, maybe a tray on one of them. I don't want to reduce him to just some sort of a service device here, but making sure that you got more drinks, you need a new White Claw. What do you got?
Yeah, and he has mistletoe wound up in his hair.
That is his hair. This is perhaps a tough one to answer here. Our final big question of the day here, Joseph. Who better captures your own identity and essence, Freedy or Dewey?
Ooh, this is like some sort of Myers-Briggs, what do you think your personality is type question. But I'm going to go Dewey. I hope I'm Dewey. I want to be like Dewey. I think, Dewey is doing his best to communicate. He is taking action. I love Freedy, and I think, still waters run deep. We don't know the whole truth about Freedy, but Freedy seems a little passive. Between the two of them, if they had an edible fish, I feel like Freedy had an edible fish, if you know what I mean. So I think I'll lean a little bit more toward Dewey.
I love this. Look, I'm going Freedy, and everything you're saying about Freedy is accurate. But the thing that I feel like connect with Freedy on is often because of some of my demeanor, my shyness that mixes with a little bit with gruffness. I often feel I have, and sometimes I play with it. I'll admit to this. I play this, but sometimes like listen to the History of the Schmoes No podcast. Every intern that comes along was like, I was really afraid of Ken when I showed up. And I'm always like, well, why? So I think you look at Freedy and you're like, the burliness, not that I walk around with my chest hanging out. I'm thinking about like, he's got a knife. You can't understand what he's saying. He's losing his hair. What is going on with this character? And then it's like, no, I just want to get you out of the net here. Go fight. And it's like, I think I connect with that. I think I'd love to say, yeah, Dewey is the one that's kind of leading the charge here. Who knows? Freedy might have carved them up and served them for a biggie dinner. So Dewey is maybe the morality center of the brothers there, but I really identify with, hey, don't judge Freedy until he takes an action.
No. I think there's a lot more going on with Freedy than we have learned yet. And while I'm happy to have like the Kino Loy story and or be this just beautiful snapshot of this wonderful person, I need much more Dewey and Freedy storytelling to fathom the depths of Freedy.
Yes. Fathom and plumb the depths indeed. We're going to give our final rating here. We're going to rate I almost made another W. We're going to rate the wild, weird, and wondrous factor of the Pamular brothers. Our rating is based on one of the original Star Wars weirdos, Lobot of Cloud City. So, Joseph, out of 10 Lobot heads, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, how many Lobot heads do you give Dewey and Freedy?
20, 10 each. They are, to me, the ideal of Star Wars weirdness. They're a fascinating design. They speak weird. They are a tip of the iceberg. We only know a little bit about them, so we get to wonder all sorts of great things about them, and they still have some meaning. They're a 10 out of 10 for me.
I love this because I'll tell you what, maybe if they were in Solo or Return of the Jedi, I don't know, we might have said 7s, 8s. I don't know. Freedy looks like a dude. But you have Dr. Quadpaw, you have Vetch, and there's these two wonderful characters, Dewi and Freedy, who are holding the flag for weirdness in Star Wars high in a show that does what it needs and wants to do. So it's not a criticism of Andor, but these two characters are here going, we are weird, and therefore I'm with you. 10 out of 10 on each side. So it's 20s all around from us here at Force Center.
Might be our first perfect 10 where we both did 10. I can't remember.
Yeah. I'm telling you, against another backdrop, I might drop them a little bit, but even then, they're wonderful and they deserve it. So they're so popular. They're very everyone loves them. I haven't met anyone online or offline who's like could have done without the brothers who fish. I think everyone is saying squigglies around these parts. Thank you all for listening to our show here. We love kind of swinging in and taking this fun, fast-paced look at the wild, weird, wondrous parts of Star Wars. For all things Force Center, just go to our Twitter page, Force Center Pod. You can find a link tree to link to other things we do. We're also on Hive Social at Force Center if you want to go there as well. Follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com. Joseph, where do you want them to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media with the handle at Joseph Scrimshaw. In particular, come visit me on Hive Social. I'm really waiting to see if it takes off and becomes a fun place for us all to meet and talk about Dewi and Freedy. Send me your thoughts on Dewi and Freedy on Hive Social. You can also go to my YouTube channel. Just search for Joseph Scrimshaw.
Do it, my friends. All right, that is it. A biggie dinner should be had by all tonight. We'll see you next time here on Force Center.
Sir.